service. I'm very happy tonight that our teacher for this evening is Liana Thomason. Liana is the community educator at Shalom Bayit, the Bay Area's Jewish domestic violence prevention and response agency, and an organization with which we have had a long-term relationship. She has been in her role for 2 years and has loved every minute of it. Liana got her start in gender-based violence prevention work in 2014 when she co-founded an award-winning youth movement designed to combat sexual harassment at the high school level. She deepened her commitment to Jewish social justice causes in college as one of the founding members of the Judaism on Our Own Terms Conference, a nationwide network of independent Jewish groups on college campuses. Most recently, Ms. Thomason worked in community education at First Shift Justice Project in Washington, D.C., where she educated women on their workplace rights related to sexual harassment and domestic violence. She is so happy to be back home in the Bay Area. She grew up in Berkeley and doing this meaningful work in her own community, the Jewish community. The title for her drash is Lech Lecha, or Why Doesn't She Just Leave? So Liana, it's a joy and a privilege to invite you to our bima.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
I think you go right into this one.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here today. Hello to all the people on Zoom. As Rabbi Morrison said, my name is Liana Thomason, and I'm the community educator at Shalom Bayit, the Bay Area's hub for domestic violence prevention and response in the Jewish community. We do a couple of things for the Jewish community. We do direct services, working directly with survivors of domestic violence, providing one-on-one counseling, support groups, emergency funds, and things of that nature. We also have a youth program called Love Shouldn't Hurt, where we go into synagogues, day schools, summer camps, youth groups, and talk about healthy relationships, healthy boundaries, and creating a culture of consent. And lastly, we do education programs like the one that you're at today, educating the adult community about domestic violence and its causes and its impacts. So this week, we read in Genesis the Parsha Lech Lecha. God speaks to Avram and Sarai, later Abraham and Sarah, and tells them to leave their homeland and go forth to an unknown land. Our people's story begins with a journey, leaving behind the familiar and going forth into the wilderness. It is a theme often repeated in the Torah, perhaps because it speaks so strongly to a place where many of us have been and continue to be. The theme of our ancestors today echoes strongly many people who are leaving their home for unfamiliar territory. Every day in our community, someone is fleeing from danger in his or her home. People who have been abused by their intimate partner are faced with a difficult choice: leave your abuser or stay. Go into the great unknown or stay with a known terror. What guidance can we offer? Some are told to go forth. Leave your abuser. How could you possibly stay in that situation? Others are told to stay. Go home and make Shalom Bayit, peace in your home. How could you possibly break up your family like that? So let's examine the Lech Lecha response, going forth. The two most common responses to someone who is disclosing an abusive relationship are, one, to not believe them, and I think this is to a lot of reasons, especially gendered reasons around women not being believed when they're speaking up about something that's happening to them, and also seeing someone who is upstanding in our community as not compatible with someone who could be also abusive to their partner at home. So number one, someone speaks up, they're not believed. Or number two, the Lech Lecha response, go forth, get out. Why don't you simply just leave, like Abraham and Sarah? Leave your home, leave your family for a new beginning. So we think that the second response is obviously the better one. But it's tricky because inherent in that just get out response is the assumption that if you don't leave, something is wrong with you, or you're in denial, or you're making a terrible choice. And the implication is that you deserve whatever happens to you after that. Change is hard enough. Leaving everything we know is terrifying. How many of us have been in any kind of situation in our lives that we knew wasn't good for us, but we stayed anyway? Maybe a job where we were unhappy, or a relationship we didn't like, a bad housing situation. We have to think about the things we are asking survivors to choose between when they are leaving. Survivors stay in relationships out of many different concerns. Pressure from family, friends, financial concerns, fear of retaliation, and more. Some stay out of love, or self-blame, or desire to keep the family together. Often the victim does not want the relationship to end, they just want the violence to stop. Convincing apologies or promises to do better after an incident of abuse effectively entice the victim back into giving their partner just one more chance. And finally, there's just the simple fact that facing the unknown and venturing away from all that is familiar can be frightening and dangerous. God told Abraham to go forth into an unknown land, but also later tells Abraham that he will be a stranger in that land and that his people will be oppressed for 400 years. 400 years before we find peace and safety in an unknown land? When there is no tangible promise of freedom on the horizon? It's no wonder that people find it hard to venture into the unknown. Leaving the relationship is statistically the most dangerous time. Most domestic violence murders occur after the victim has left the relationship, as the abuser declares their ultimate act of control. People who leave know that this is the time that they are most likely to be stalked, harassed, endangered, or otherwise threatened. Even those who are not in physical danger, leaving is complex and difficult. It may require leaving behind all that is familiar, hopes, dreams, belongings, friends, your community, and more. And this is profoundly unfair. But despite the fact that this happens, domestic violence survivors are leaving, and they're leaving every day. They're struggling to be single parents, they are finding a job, rebuilding their lives. They're finding Jewish spiritual community that is not tainted by their abuser's presence. So can we really say to an abuse survivor, lech lecha, go forth? If she leaves, she may be homeless. It may be difficult for her to support herself. The violence may escalate. If she leaves, will her community support her? Will we believe her, even if her ex was a beloved member of our congregation? What is the price she will pay for her freedom? We have to consider these types of choices. Domestic violence is a pattern of power and control where one partner exerts that control over the other partner. It can take many forms, such as ona'at devarim, oppression by means of words, intimidation, emotional abuse, financial control, sexual coercion, threats, manipulation, isolation, and yes, physical violence. These are all tools that abusers use to trap their victims in a cycle of fear. 1 in 4 Jewish women, 1 in 4 gay Jewish men, and almost 1 in 2 trans Jews will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. At such a magnitude, this issue cannot be described as an interpersonal issue, a family matter, a woman's issue, or an LGBTQ issue. It is a societal and communal issue that requires a societal and communal response. So, how do we respond as a community? When a domestic violence survivor tells their story, we can support them, listen, and believe them. We can ask, what do you need, and how can I help you? We can offer whatever we can give. Sometimes just asking the question is enough. Abuse survivors need safety, and they need resources, but they also need to tell their stories. It is scary and painful to tell the truth about what happened to you, yet it is incredibly healing. If the person is still with their partner, talking it through can help them explore their options and sort through their feelings. If they've already left, it can help them stay strong on their journey. And if they are thinking about going back, it can help them remember why they left and what goals lie in their own personal promised land. And so, when an abused person tells their story and we believe them, we are helping them to rename themselves, to break the isolation, to rediscover their true form, free of their abuser's control. This is what helps domestic violence survivors to break free of an abusive relationship. And they will need a strong community of supporters to do that. No one can do that alone. So what can we do to be that community of support? Can we all venture now into the new and unknown territory where domestic violence no longer exists? I invite each of us this Shabbat to consider what it would take, not only as a society for us to wage peace, but for us as individuals. What actions can we take to create that just and peaceful land of our dreams? To anyone who is being controlled by your partner right now, I say, lehilach, go forth, to the land of yourself, to the land of your soul, to find your true essence and to know that you are good and worthy and do not deserve to be belittled or mistreated. I cannot assume that you are at the point where you are able to make the journey forth into an unknown land, but if you do choose to do so, I promise that I will say, Hineni, here I am by your side, ready to walk with you wherever you need to go. To those of you who have harmed an intimate partner, or a child, or a dear one, I say, lech lecha, go forth into a land you can perhaps not yet see, a land where you let go of your need to be in control, a land where you let go of your need to harm those around you, to blame or criticize others, a land where your loved ones are equal to you and you share power and decision-making processes. This Shabbat Lech Lecha, I invite you to take one small step in that direction. To all you caring community members, I say Lechilach, go forth into the land that is perhaps unfamiliar, experiment with things outside of your comfort zone. If someone you know is being harmed, tell them that you are concerned for them. If someone you know is acting in a way that you think is harmful, tell them that what they're doing is not okay. And if someone confides in you that they are being abused, believe them. Walk with them on the journey. Tell them, Hineni, here I am with you. And to all of you teens and young people out there, I say, Lech Lecha, go forth into the land of healthy relationships, of friendships that do not involve bullying, to a place where we follow our hearts and become who we feel called to be instead of succumbing to intense peer pressure and popularity contests. Lechilach, you are our future. Go out and create the community that you want to live in. I bless you all for a true Shabbat Shalom, that you may have true peace and wholeness now and always. Thank you.